Shemai, how are you all? Well, I'm here today with a card made with the stunning Free as a Bird, Wild as a Bird set. There it is. And I've done a little bit of watercolouring on it this time. Excuse my very croaky voice. I've been doing quite a lot of singing in school this week and it tends to have a bit of effect. So here's the stamp set. And it comes as a bundle in the new catalogue with these lovely stitched label dies. And the nice thing is about these dies, I don't know if you can see that, but it's got double dot around the outside of the die. So what you get is you get, say, the positive image, so the piece you cut out, and then on the leftover piece of card, I'm trying to think if I've still got one, you get the outer dots then, so you could use the other piece of card as well. So I'm going to use those. I'm also using the background stamp, crackle paint, just to do this little bit here. And I'm also using the subtle embossing folder. Now, to be honest, when I first saw this in the catalogue, because it seemed so faint, I couldn't actually see what it was about, so I didn't get it. It was only when, I don't know if you can see it, it's only when I've seen things made with it that you can see the true effect of this embossing folder. So what I've done is I've added just a little bit there. It's a bit hard to see because it is quite faint, but what I do, I sponge it up a little bit with some crumb cake. So there we go, that's the card. And here's the new catalogue. And what I've done with mine, to make it a little bit easier to shop, because obviously we all need it to be easy to shop, I've put some little index tabs in there so I can easily then turn to find what I'm after. And the Free as a Bird bundle is on page 8 here. And what they've done to make it easier, they put all the bundles right at the front of the catalogue and then they break them down further through the catalogue. So what I did, I just used up little bits of scrap card, punched them out and wrote the names on them then. So I'll put that to one side. I'm also using some of the Bird Ballad designer paper, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I've gone for this little yellow one, which gives like little bird tracks. And the back side of the paper is just there. So the first thing I'm going to do, as you can see, I've mounted that on my card ready just to save a bit of time. And I'm going to sponge up my embossed piece of card. There it is. I'm just going to use a little bit of crumb cake. And what I've done is, usually there I am about to demonstrate what I've done to make it so much easier. And I pick one out that isn't labelled, but I usually put a little label on my door buzz so I know which one it is. I think I bought this set here from Craftelia, which is a Spanish scrapbooking site. Their delivery is absolutely superb and their prices are really reasonable. So once again, I just stamp it off a little bit and in a bit of a circular motion, I'm just adding a little bit of detail to the embossed piece of card. And this is just to bring the embossed image up a little bit stronger. As you can see on my demonstration card here, quite a lot of it is being covered anyway. So you haven't got to be fantastically precise. There it is. And that's actually going to be mounted on Pool Party cardstock. The colours I'm using, cardstock wise, are Daffodil Delight, Pool Party and of course Whisper White. And these are the colours that are in the Bird Ballad designer paper. Bring my very trusty paper trimmer in now just to cut it down slightly. trim that off a little bit more there. And then, excuse my voice, sorry, this is the piece that I've done the crackle painting. So I'm just going to add that to that part there of the card. There it is. And before I stick it on my card, I'm going to use a little bit of the new scalloped lace ribbon, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I've got a very, very thin double-sided tape here. I'm going to stick that down. It's quite difficult sometimes sticking down lace because you don't want it to stick into anything else. There we go. Stick that across there. And I just make sure then I've got enough to fold under so it doesn't come off. And I will just drop that down. What I'm going to do, I'm going to mount that on here ready in case I lose it, because even though my desk looks quite tidy on screen, it's lucky that it's not a 360 camera, because otherwise you'd see the true extent of the mess that's gone on in the background. So I'm just sort of putting that with equal distance between the top, and I'm going to use a little mini glue dot now. And I think I've shown you how I've made this little twine bow before. It's just using the burlap ribbon, and you just separate it and pull. You can separate pieces off then. So there we go. That's my card base all done. So I'm going to put that off to one side. I'm going to bring in now my image here, and I've stamped it once again in Memento ink because I'm going to watercolour it. And the way I do this, as I say, I am not an expert in watercolouring at all. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use an acrylic block as a bit of a paint palette. And I'm going to use an aqua brush. But I'm not going to fill the brush with water. See what I mean now? So I'm just going to move my image. So with a little spray bottle, I'm just adding a little bit of water to my acrylic block, and I'm going to pick it up then. This is a really cheap set of aqua brushes, and there's 3 different thicknesses, which is handy. And I'm just going to apply that to my little birds. As I say, I'm not an artist. You see some people and they colour them so beautifully. I'm afraid that's probably not me. There we are. So they're quite easy once you've got your ink all nice and wet. They are really easy then to paint on. There we go. And to clean it, you can just wipe it off on your thing, and then I tend to use a little bit of a baby wipe to get the rest off. Then I'm going to clean my acrylic block, and I'm going to then I'm going to do the leaves. So same again, a little bit of green, which is called me clover. I'm going to move that out of the way. There we go. Bring it back in then. I'm just going to carefully pick it up. But because it's more of a watercolour effect, if you go outside the lines slightly, it just adds to the effect of the card. That's what I tell myself. There we go. As I say, because this is a nice thin aqua brush, it's much easier then to put the ink exactly where I want it to be. And the nice thing about this as well, you can see how much extra use you can get out of your ink pads. The other way you can do it is by pressing that into that, which will transfer some ink to the top of your ink pad, and you can use it there. There's a few ways you can use it. So there we go, there's my green on there. So once again, just wipe it off like that, just give it a clean, and then wipe off my acrylic block. Right, so the next colour I'm going to use the yellow for the flowers and their little chests and their beaks. And this is Daffodil Delight. Bring it back in. The nice thing about these little spray bottles, you can control how much you add to the block then. This was really cheap. I think I bought it in Superdrug. I think it's something like 40p. Whereas you can see them on craft places and they're far more expensive. So if I were you, I would look around, and because you can pick up things far cheaper when they're not designed for craft sometimes. Yeah, there's their little beaks. And I'm just going to add some then to the little chests. Then I'm going to do the brown branch. And then I'm going to show you how I got, and it was purely by accident, this little speckled look to the white. In fact, it was a huge accident and I thought I'd messed it all up. Right, so I'm just moving it out the side. There we go. And if you can see all this speckle here, that gives you an indication of how I had this happy accident. So there we go, I'm just colouring in the branch now. And I wanted to show you this because, as I say, I'm not an expert on watercolouring at all, but it just shows what an accessible technique it is, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. So then what I did then, as I say, purely by accident, I squirted, as you can see, I've got this fairly close to my acrylic block, and if you squirt it in the direction of the card, it puts splatters onto your image. First I thought, oh no, I've messed it up, but actually it added to like the shabby chic effect of this card. There we go. I hope it doesn't look like they're sitting under polluted rain or anything. So I'm just now going to just dry that by doing a bit of flapping with it. And while that's drying off, I'm going to add a little bit of Daffodil Delight. There we go. This is what I mean. If you see, I've used my little labeler and I have put the names of the colours. For some reason my camera thought it was due a little break and decided to shut down on me, so I've had to restart it all and wait for it to cool down. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to ink up my sentiment. And the sentiment comes from the Free as a Bird set, and it says, "The world needs more of you." Which is quite a nice sentiment. Even though, with me at Slimming World at the moment, I'm aiming for less of me. The sentiment is still nice. So I've applied the foam pads at the back. And in the cool down of my camera, I've also added my image onto the nested label die cut, sorry. There it is. I'm just going to add that on there then. And just adding the sentiment on, and then this card is ready to go. And there it is, all done. So we have used tonight, we've used soft suede, Army Blue, Crumb Cake, Daffodil Delight, and Call Me Clover. And I stamped the image in Memento because then you can watercolour it. I've used a watercolour pen, but as I say, I didn't fill the barrel of it. I find it easier. What I find when I fill the barrel and you give it a little bit of a squeeze, I tend to flood my image. So instead, I used a very little cheap water spray bottle. I use Free as a Bird. I just love these little birdies. And crackle paint. I use the nested label dies. Stampin' Up! And now packaging their dies differently in different packets. And the Settles embossing folder. So thank you so much for joining Nikki of Nikki Next Paper Crafts. Huge welcome to all my new subscribers. If you haven't yet subscribed, but you think, oh, I'd like to see what else she'd get up to, I would be delighted if you hit the subscribe bar, and if you hit the little notification bell, then it'll let you know when I've been busy on YouTube. I wish you all a lovely weekend, and I shall see you soon. Hwyl fawr, take care, bye.